Jared Weiner, Lose Control, Jared Weiner.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Drugs are amazing, aren't they?
They are.
Now, when I talk about drugs today, I mean simply things that we put inside of our body that either bring us closer to or further away from homeostasis. That's our body's natural state of balance. They can affect our mind. Caffeine is a drug. I see many of you imbibing this morning. Yeah, myself included. It temporarily blocks our receptors in our brain that usually make us feel tired. Our brains are malleable. I'm fascinated with this ability, how our body can change, can be affected with the slightest of changes. I've seen firsthand how addiction can ruin people. Drugs can cause people to lose control. I've learned, though, that the fear of losing control can be much more powerful. That fear almost killed me. Drugs saved my life. In fact, not taking drugs was the reason I found myself lying on the floor, seconds away from death. Now, I've only taken this particular drug twice in my life. The second time I took it, I felt the effects fully. That was some strong shit, man. Plus, that time, I knew how to do it. I took the needle, rolled up my shorts, and jammed it into my thigh. I expected pain, but what I felt, I felt like Superman. Epinephrine is some strong shit, man.
Yeah.
My heart raced like it never had before. Adrenaline coursed through my body. There was no worry that my lungs were going to close up anymore with the jolt of steroids I had just plunged into my leg. My heart rate tripled in a matter of seconds. I was jazzed up. I was in control. Now, having a bee allergy isn't so bad. It's not as long as you're prepared, as long as you're able to stay in control. The first time I took epinephrine, I wasn't prepared. It was my first quarter of college in 2008. I was 17, just moved away from home for the first time. I knew everything. And at that point, I hadn't been stung before in my life. I knew, though, that I was allergic to bees because the doctors told me after giving me that test where they poke you in your back and, tell you which allergy you've won. But in my vast 17 years of wisdom at that point, I hadn't had to worry about it yet. Until one day, I went to the gym, of all places. I remember because that day I decided to do some of my workout on the outside patio to try to impress this girl named Andy, of course. Andy. I was literally in the middle of doing an ab crunch when I felt the sting right under my thigh. I looked down. Oh, there's the bee. Crap. There's no way I could play it off to be cool with Andy on that point. So I decided to walk up, go back to my dorm room. The doctor said if I got stung, I would probably go into anaphylactic shock, meaning my lungs would close up, I wouldn't be able to breathe anymore. But I didn't know how long that would take. When I got to my dorm room, I grabbed my EpiPen and my inhaler. It had been about 15 minutes or so since I'd been stung. I I decided to walk down to the health center, which was about a 7-minute walk. At that point, I was feeling okay. I was still in control. On the walk down, my breathing started to become more restricted. I was a little bit worried, naturally, so when I showed up to the building, I decided it was appropriate to cut the line, and I've informed the receptionist, "Excuse me, miss, I'm about to go into anaphylactic shock. I've been stung by a bee." Clearly, she wasn't too worried by my reaction, so she asked me to go back and fill out a form and come wait in line. Now, at that point, my breathing was very restricted. It was difficult to breathe. I was losing control. I walked over, I grabbed the form, and in all caps, I wrote "bee sting" across it. I handed it to her, and I went to go sit down. I don't know why I didn't just use my EpiPen at that point. I think back and I realized I was afraid. I was afraid of what could happen by using this drug. I was afraid of giving up that control. About 25 minutes post-sting, it was confirmed I was going into anaphylactic shock. My lungs had totally closed up. They were closed for business. The last thing I remember, my vision was blurred. My muscles gave out. As I was sitting, I started to slouch. And I remember the last thing I heard was the receptionist yelling for a doctor to come get me. I was afraid to take drugs that day. I was seconds away from death, but I couldn't give up that control of knowing. It was scary. It was scary to see how I was able to convince myself that I was okay. My body was literally shutting down. Sometimes you've got to be willing to lose control. It could save your life. Thank you.